Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara, and in August of 2019 I underwent gastric bypass surgery. And about 3 weeks after that date, the scale stopped moving, and I was very much convinced that I had failed somehow, that I had undergone this drastic procedure and it was not going to work for me. So, if you are contemplating the surgery or if you have it scheduled and it's coming up, this video is for you because I'm going to be talking to you all about the dreaded 3-week stall. So let's get into this. Before I start diving into this topic though, I do just want to say quickly that I'm not a medical professional of any sort. I'm just a person who used to weigh more than 300 pounds and went through bariatric surgery. And with this particular video, what I'm trying to do is avoid some unnecessary stress for you when inevitably you hit your 3-week stall. Now, everybody's surgeon is going to have different protocols, but I can only speak for my own. In my instance, I had to undergo a 3-week liquid diet before my date of surgery. So during those 3 weeks, I could have nothing but OptiFast shakes up to 4 times a day, and then up to 2 cups of lettuce, green pepper, cucumber, and there was something else in there. I want to say maybe broccoli. Some sort of green vegetable was allowed, and that was it. And let me tell you, OptiFast was incredibly difficult. I have an entire video on that. I will link it up here in case you are facing that particular challenge. Feel free to go and check that video out. But I did not enjoy that process, but I will say in those 3 weeks, I did lose about 18 pounds. And the whole point of that pre-surgery liquid diet is to help shrink your liver so that when your surgeon goes in to do the surgery, whether it's a sleeve or whether it's the full gastric bypass, they have a clearer field of vision so that they're not obstructed by your liver. Nobody wants a surgeon who can't see what they're doing. So I had to do 3 weeks of this liquid diet, and it was atrocious, especially hitting around, if I recall correctly, day 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that area. I had gone through the keto flu. If you're not familiar with that, that's basically just how your body starts reacting when you enter into ketosis, and that is what is happening when you're doing this liquid diet. And I was just kind of not a nice person during that time, very easily set off, lots of tears, lots of raging over nothing, lots of jealousy of people who were able to just walk into a restaurant and eat. There was a lot of that going on, and then eventually I simmered down, kind of gave myself over to it and got through it. Now, after surgery, you're still on a liquid diet for 2 weeks, again, depending upon your own particular surgical plan. For me, it was 2 weeks. But you get to move away from the OptiFast. And let me tell you, once I was able to close that door, I did not look back. So for me, I became very reliant on bone broth and on protein shakes. The bone broth was a very nice, very welcome change for me because OptiFast and protein shakes tend to taste cloyingly sweet. Even when you get protein shakes that don't have a lot of sugar in them, like for example, Premier Protein, they still just taste so ridiculously sweet, and I am not a sweet fan. I shouldn't say it that way. I will eat sweets, don't get me wrong, but that's not what I crave. I don't have a sweet tooth. I'm much more of a savory person, and so the bone broth really came in clutch for me there because not only was it high in protein, but it had a little bit of that salty goodness, which was just such a nice reprieve from all of the overly sweet drinks that I'd been drinking. Now, during these first 2 weeks after surgery, there's a few things going on inside of your body. One, it's healing. So your stomach, whether you've had the sleeve or whether you've had the bypass, it's inflamed, it's angry, and it's healing. So again, the amount that you can ingest is very minimal at this point. Your body's also just kind of going, the hell just happened, and trying to adjust in that sense. Now, another thing is that your body continues to be in ketosis, meaning your body is burning fat instead of carbohydrates. And when it does that, it produces ketones. Now, ketones are basically, for lack of a better term, a foreign object in the body, and your body needs to flush it out. So to do that, the kidneys start increasing your urine production, and you just start peeing an awful lot. And what happens then, of course, is you're losing water weight. So about 2/3 of the weight that you lose in the first 2 weeks after surgery is related to water weight loss. Now, the last thing that starts going on is your body starts to consume glycogen. So if we look at body fat as long-term storage of energy, glycogen is short-term storage of energy in the form of glucose. So your body is not only breaking down that, but it is also starting to break down body fat, and that accounts for the other 1/3 of the weight that you lose in those first 2 weeks. Now, again, depending on your surgeon's program, at about week 3, you can start entering pureed foods into your diet. Now, in my own case, I never pureed anything because honestly, the idea of a meat slurry was less appealing to me than the idea of returning to OptiFast. So what I did instead was I relied on baked ricotta and cottage cheese to varying degrees of success. I wasn't a huge cottage cheese fan. I have since figured out how I like it, and now I absolutely love cottage cheese. Add some fresh peaches or add some strawberries and you've got a winner right there. I tried with cinnamon and apples and all this kind of stuff, but peaches and strawberries are the two that work the best for me personally. As well, I was also eating a lot of scrambled eggs, and those things sat well within my stomach. Again, you can only eat really small volumes of food. You continue with the protein shakes because protein rules your life immediately after surgery, and for basically the first year after that, you're really focused on that protein intake. So what happens around this 3-week period then is with that introduction of pureed foods, or pseudo-pureed as the case may be, you break ketosis. So now your body is trying to adjust. It's gone through this period of up to 5, maybe even more weeks of pure liquid diet and being in this ketogenic state. And now there's food and your body's going like, what am I supposed to do with you? And it kind of grinds to a little bit of a halt in terms of the weight loss showing up on the scale. As well, now your body is also starting to rebuild those water stores because it's not having to flush out the ketones. So you can see sometimes a bit of an increase on the scale because your body is now storing the amount of water that it's supposed to. Jumping back to the first 2 weeks, at least for me, checking my weight on the scale became a full-on addiction. I would do it multiple times throughout the day because it was just fascinating. You would weigh something in the morning and by the afternoon you had dropped a pound, and then the next morning there was another pound gone, and that afternoon another one. And you start thinking like, oh my God, it's working. And then you get to week 3 and the scale just is like, I'm not going to budge. Or it might even go up a pound or 2. So what I want to tell you today is that that is perfectly normal. It basically represents the period in which your body is getting itself back into balance. So there's a few things that I want to recommend when this stall hits you. 1, relax. You have not done anything wrong. It is completely normal. As well, your body is still burning fat during this plateau. It's just because you're increasing your water weight and the fat is going down, you don't necessarily see that translated onto the scale. So again, just relax and trust the process. Number 2 is to stick with your surgeon's plans. So if you are on the pureed stage, just stay there. Don't reduce the amount of food that you're eating and go back to just full fluids. You need to progress because your body needs to do that adjustment. So while it may seem intuitive to just cut back even further so that you can continue to see those losses on the scale, you don't need to do that. Stick with the process, trust the process, and that plateau will eventually break. Another thing that I recommend is taking a scale break. Do not step on that scale. Those numbers, as exciting as it is, and I know that it's exciting, I've lived there, I know how exciting it is. But it can be so demoralizing as well when you don't see that number budge day after day. Again, just keep telling yourself this is normal and this is short term. You will see that scale budge, but I would suggest weeks 3 and 4, just don't even go near it. Week 5, like maybe start training yourself to only look once a week, something like that. Don't do what I do. Don't become like a chronic self-weigher because it just is unnecessary. It really is. So take a scale break. And then the last thing that I would recommend is do not compare yourself to other people. I'm part of a bariatric social group on Facebook called Baritastic. hate the name, but it is what it is. It's a nice closed group, so if you post there, people in your normal feed aren't going to see it. So it's quite private and it's just bariatric patients in there. There's some pros and some cons. That's not the point of this video, but I do see a lot of posts where people say, how much weight did you lose by week 3? Or I'm like 6 weeks out from surgery and I've only lost this. What's going on? And there's just a lot of comparing to other people, and each one of our journeys is different. Each one of our bodies is different. Our physiological makeup, how quickly our body adjusts post-surgery, how quickly it adjusts to reintroduction of food into the diet, that is all going to be different one from the next. So comparing your rate of weight loss to somebody else's, it's honestly apples and oranges because you're two completely different people. So just don't bother comparing. I mean, that saying is there for a reason. Comparison is the thief of joy, because it truly is. All you can really do is focus on yourself, focus on your healing, and focus on creating habits that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. So with all of that said, just the big take-home message is the 3-week stall is a thing. Most people, the vast majority of people, experience it. It is temporary. You have not failed. Just trust the process. Those are the take-home messages for today. And with that, I'm going to wrap the video up. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, I ask that you consider doing so. But for now, I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.